think the best place for this receiver is going to be somewhere over here. It's quite a compact build, which is nice, but a bit of deforestation is going to be needed. I might clear out an area that's definitely going to be big enough. I'm not sure if it does have to all be in one chunk, but I'm going to turn on chunk borders just in case. When checking the build, I've realised two things. First of all, it won't all fit into a whole chunk. And second of all, I've forgotten a couple of materials. I need a bit more white concrete, loads of repeaters, 40 is actually the total I need, so that's perfect, and redstone dust. Let's turn all this concrete to powder, and then I can start building this. This is just going to be a really complicated redstone build, so I'm not going to bore you with too many of the details. I'm just going to get on with it. And I've also kind of got to concentrate, because if I mess up one tiny little thing, yeah, the whole build is just not going to work. So I will be as quick and careful as I can be. Everything I've built so far probably looks quite complicated, but the main gist of what I'm building right now is a system that detects whether or not the chunks are loaded or not. So basically, if I place an armor stand here, if that armor stand, I'm going to put Frostwalker on that, Frostwalker onto the armor stand, and then I'm going to have water right here and water right here, and everything should work correct. And now, yeah, it's just that observers are going off. But now, if this gets frozen, then that'll get detected by the observer. Now, I actually have to make sure there's a block above that, otherwise it will just get frozen on its own, so I have to do something like that. But yeah, then it will know that the chunks are loaded, and the machine will be in operation. It's starting to get really complicated now, but I'm building a system that kind of keeps dispensing the items, and it's these items that keep dispensing that will then detect wirelessly if an item gets dispensed somewhere else at a certain point. Like, that's kind of how it works. It's a bit more complicated than that, but it's the general gist of it anyway. I'm pretty sure this is now finished, but one of the next things I'm definitely going to need are some Frostwalker boots, so that's what I'll go and get. And this villager is the one that will give it to me. I don't know if Frostwalker is something that's easier to get, but I got it so fast. So I shall buy that book and also add a sign for this guy. Fancy putting these on gold boots as well, because I don't want to use any diamonds, since I don't want my machine to be a peasant, and I'm not wasting a netherite ingot on netherite boots either. Let's add Frostwalker to that. And now, if I place that right there, I'm pretty sure, I mean, should it work? Should it have turned that to Frostwalker? I'm not entirely sure. If I wear them myself, does it? Does Frostwalker just straight up not work? Is it? Okay, I'm not sure what's going on here. Seems to work pretty well on these blocks. I think I know what the issue is, so I think there needs to be water there, but then also water at the bottom, and then water here. Okay, I'm not sure if it messed up there or not, but if I just go and put these on. Okay, I think, yeah, okay, that worked perfectly, and then it pulls it down, and it should keep regenerating. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so now all I have to do is instead put these on you, and then whenever this chunk is loaded, so when the world is reset or anything like that, in fact, I'm not sure why I just did that, but if I now do this, it should turn the whole machine on, and there should be a clock going on. Now, the only thing I need to do is need to add items into like this system so there's actually things being dispensed. So let's go with a bucket there and a slab right there. And I think there needs to be an item here as well. I think that's then everything, and it all should just be dispensing and working correctly. So you can see what it's basically doing is dispensing two items at exactly the same time. I was trying to work out why this wasn't quite working properly. As you can see, signals keep getting sent through, so these shouldn't be lighting up. These pistons shouldn't be moving unless a signal gets sent to it. And the reason for that was really the amount of items I was putting in. I'm not actually putting enough. First of all, they need to be non-stackable items in these, so I'm just going to make a bunch of axes and fill up these. So I've got 3 in the bottom ones, 4 up there, and the same on this side. And I also need to sort out the item counts up here because I've definitely not got this right. Instead, I'm going to put about 15 in this bottom one and 1 in there, and they're going to be planks because they're going to have to be different to what's on this side and this side so they don't stack. So sticks should work perfectly. And now I'm hoping that the machine actually works. Only one way to find out. Just look at this. It's like a dream. This lamp is no longer powering. So yeah, it was the fact that I wasn't putting the right amount of items in there. The tutorial I used didn't really specify, so that's why I kind of got mixed up. So now I'm going to build a test transmitter, which I could build anywhere, but I'm going to build it right next to it. And this will let me see if it's successfully sending wireless signals. This is the transmitter. It uses daylight sensors to align everything. And if it works, when I press this button, that should light up. I didn't. It almost did, but it didn't quite. Wait, it did just then, though. Okay, it did it a little bit delayed, but it did work. It seems to be pretty consistent. If we look now, look, it seems to... Yeah, pretty much. That first time was a bit weird, but it seems to be every time. So let's see what we can do with this. First of all, I'm going to head back home and grab a piston. And I've also grabbed a bunch of other items. And if I create an ender pearl stasis chamber like so... Okay, well, maybe it needs to be a little bit deeper. And now if I press this button, it should teleport me, if it works. Yeah, look at that. It worked. I'm going to leave this ender pearl here, and I'm going to mine away at all of this. Hopefully it doesn't send off any signals. And now we build the transmitter somewhere far, far away. And I think the Guardian Farm is the place. So right here is the perfect place. The build is done. Now if I press this button, in theory, I should get teleported to spawn. Oh, look at that. Look at that, it works! What an incredible machine. I must shout out Redstone Warper for the design and all the help in his Discord. Right about here should be the perfect spot. To build this, we're going to need quite a lot of quartz. Although on second thoughts, I'd like to make it out of concrete. But to make concrete, you need gravel. And all of my gravel has been placed down here. So if I spend a bit of time draining this monument, then I'll be able to get back some more gravel. And there we go. This is pretty much all drained now. Next, I can start getting rid of gravel. And with this, I can make more concrete. And also some white concrete. And now to begin building this. And of course, we're going to be going big, which means I have to get rid of things like trees. And I also need to fill in areas like this. This right here is the beginnings of the building. It's not looking very impressive, is it? But don't worry, once it's finished, it'll look a lot better. Another day of building. I'm not really sure if it's coming together or not. But one thing I do know is that I need more concrete powder. That's 8 more stacks of each. That should be enough for now. A little more progress. I've added a bit of a roof, but it needs more detail. Next, I'm going to gather up a bunch of dandelions. 18's definitely enough. And with that, I can make yellow concrete. Now we're going to add strips of yellow concrete like this. This is quite exciting. I never get to use these for builds, but I'm going to use some scaffolding. That way, adding the strips is going to be much easier. There we go. Let's break all of these. And now I want to do the same thing up there. There we go. The front is complete and I had a change of heart and decided to use magenta instead. Next, I'm going to expand out these sides. What do you think, guys? I have no idea what I'm building. Another side is now complete, but I'm pretty much out of gravel, so I'm going to go and get some more, which means draining more water. And there we go. Another one is done. Now to get more gravel. Now I've got plenty of gravel in here, plenty in my inventory, and also in this shulker box. Now I can craft more white concrete and get back to building. Now that every side is done, work can begin on the back. And there we have it. The back has also been finished. Just need to improve this roof a bit. I'm going to start that by adding loads of concrete. In this middle bit, I'm going to create like a little extra roof part. The walls of this little thing is complete. Now I'm just going to add a bit of a roof on this. There we go. That's now covered up. I'm also just going to slightly adjust this. Now it looks something like this. I have no idea about that bit of the design, but I do know I can bring some beams around like this. And I can also do the same at the front as well. There we go. It's starting to come together, but I feel like it needs a little bit extra. And for that, I'm going to cook some chorus fruit and then create a load of end rods. These can be placed in the corners just to give it even more of a futuristic vibe. Also add some along the top of here. Am I happy with this building? I mean, it's definitely something different to everything else. The only thing I want to do is slightly change the front design because at the moment it looks like an N, which makes no sense. And then I'll be ready to create the teleporter on the inside. Took a while, but the front is now redone. Now I need to do something about this interior. To start with, I'm just going to fill in these walls a little bit more. I've decided to fill in these walls all the way around. And then along here, I'm going to create a border of red concrete with glass inside that. And then if I grab a load of lava, perfect, that is now complete. Although I have decided that I'd like to move this wall here in by 1 because just having that black on the wall looks a bit strange. There we go, I'm liking the look of this. All this snow needs to be removed. I think iron blocks are going to be useful since I can place those in the floor and then put yellow concrete as a border inside those. And along here is where the buttons shall be for the teleporter. I'm not entirely sure what I've done with my treasure shulker box. I think I've left it with the pandas, so I'm going to borrow some of these diamonds. Then these will be placed on here like so with amethyst underneath. I also want to dig this out and place iron blocks like this. And the same on the other side, because I plan to put beacons on both sides. Along here will be 6 buttons, which will extend the correct piston, which will then activate these observers. And then using repeaters, I can separate out all the 6 different signals. I realised the best system is going to be just to alternate them on both sides. Then we place a block there with a sticky piston, and connected to the piston, we need 11 honey blocks. And on the bottom one, I'm going to place redstone, then a temporary block, and then a piston. Then if I get rid of that block, the piston should move back up. I didn't realise I had the ability to break pistons. For some reason I have to add the piston first and then the redstone block. But below this piston we're going to add more. Okay, why is it so weird? Apparently pistons can be powered through midair now, so instead we're going to go 1 block lower and add another 11 honey blocks. Once again a block of redstone and a piston 2 blocks under it. I finally worked out a fix for the issues I'm having. If I instead put a piece of redstone dust on top of the piston, now when it goes like that it extends and it goes back up. Now I shall extend this chamber all the way down to bedrock. Although to do that I'm going to need more sticky pistons. There we go, we can craft loads. I think I've now got all the items I need to finish this build, except for a load of iron blocks. What I've managed to do is connect this room to the room where I battled all the withers. So this is probably a good place to build a portal, since the only way I can send a redstone signal thousands of blocks is going to be using portals. If I try doing it without portals, then as soon as the signal went outside a render distance, it just wouldn't work. The way I will do this is create a portal, but I won't go through it. Instead I first build one on the other side that will perfectly link, because I've just divided the coordinates by 8. As you can see, Links up perfectly. The Y value is very important. But it's very important that they're both the same value anyway. So we're going to place a dropper there that's going to send an item through the portal, which is why I put a hopper and a barrel on top of that so that we never run out of items. And when that item comes through, it will load the chunks, the hopper will pick it up, and the comparator will get a signal. And then I just have to dig along until I go into the next chunk. And at this far edge, I'm going to build another portal. Once again, going into this portal is going to be a dropper, and there's going to be a hopper into the back of that with a barrel on top. And once again, I'm not going to go through the portal, but instead I'm going to multiply the coordinates by 8 and build a portal there that perfectly corresponds. And if you can understand all that, then I'll be very impressed. This right here is the spot. There is water around, but I don't think it's going to get in my way too much. Once again, we're going to have a barrel with a hopper and a comparator coming out of that. You also see that if I use this portal, it connects perfectly to this one right here. And I also need to add a redstone line that goes all the way into this dispenser. And if I do something to activate the wire, you'll hear the dispenser go off and the barrel has picked it up. Look at that. Just found some diamonds. Well, oh my goodness, there's diamonds everywhere. Although I am building a teleportation device, so I don't think I have to worry about them. The biggest thing you have to remember when doing this is never go through a portal until you link it. Otherwise, things will go disastrously wrong. Now I just have to repeat this a load of times until I get to where I need to be. I also think there comes a point where it makes more sense to fly to the next location instead of strip mining hundreds of blocks. This right here is the spot. And now this section is also complete. We've got to a point where we've come far enough this way on the Z, so instead we're going to turn a right angle and move along the X-axis now. And let's build the next portal right here. And I believe this right here is the final portal that I need to build. And the corresponding portal for this is going to be at 0, 0. This probably isn't the last time that I'll ever do this, but as long as it's the last time today, then I'm happy. Before I add the part at this end that will actually teleport you, I'm just going to test that all the redstone connects up. If it doesn't work, I'm just going to give up. The first thing I must do is fill all these barrels with items, and I felt like nuggets is going to be the best one. Basically, the amount of items that are in the dropper is the amount of times this machine can be used. All of the droppers have now been successfully loaded. So in theory, when I push this button, it should extend a piston at spawn. This really is going to be a moment of truth. An item went out of this dropper, so the first part worked. Of course, guys, something went wrong. On the positive side, there's diamonds over there. I'll get this working and I'll let you know when I'm done. And the reason it didn't work is because the item landed on top of here, so I guess I need to add extra blocks to make sure that doesn't happen. Here we go with take 2. Take 2 didn't work because I was missing a piece of redstone, but my third attempt, it worked. It actually worked. Well, now we've got this far, I can begin building the Ender Pearl Stasis Chamber. First thing I'm going to do is send the redstone signal upwards by once again using pistons and honey blocks. If you crouch to the side of honey block, you can still jump. On top of this will be a redstone block and a piston right here. We're going to break that, and thankfully going downwards, it's not glitchy. I've made it all the way up, but this is where I can build the stasis chamber. All of this can also be patched up if I can get some dirt. And to finish the stasis chamber, I'm going to need a few more materials, such as water, a bit of kelp, loads of ender pearls, and a bit of this as well. So let's dig down about 6 blocks. Place this, and then I need to just get out of here. Then I'm going to plant loads of kelp. So now it's a proper bubble column. The redstone current can also go into this dropper. This dropper can be filled with ender pearls. And now if I throw one ender pearl down there, this is now trapped in stasis. It is stuck up and down. Okay, well, I'm not meant to walk into it. But as long as nothing touches it, it is trapped in stasis. But notice what would happen if I activated the redstone. Look at that. Teleports me straight up. And all that's left for me to do now is to see if it works all the way from my house. Okay, here we go. I'm going to press the button. It's going to take a little while for the signal to go. Nothing's happened. Something's gone wrong. I don't know how, but one of the nuggets didn't go in the hopper, so I'm going to have to do something like that to try and stop that. Take 2. It worked. Hang on a minute. It worked. I pushed it a second time, but I think it worked the first time. It just took longer than I thought. And whenever I use this machine, I can just throw another one in, and then it's going to be permanently loaded and waiting. This time I'm going to time it. I'm going to see how long it takes from me pushing the button to get all the way there. There we go. It was in 12 seconds. I can get from my house to here in 12 seconds. That's insane. It's roughly the equivalent of traveling 100 blocks per second. I do want to add a system so I can push a button and just go straight back to my house. But for now, I'm going to go and repair my tools. I think that's well deserved. So now that this machine is done, I want to create a way to teleport back just by pushing a button here. And I'm pretty sure all I have to do with that is just mirror the same redstone system on the other side. I'll do some testing and find out. If that doesn't work, then I'll have to build more portals to do the same thing. I ran a quick test, sent a honey block through, and the redstone did push this block. So now it's time to get redstone in. Part of me finds this difficult to believe, but it is completely working. The system back also sends a redstone signal. I placed this piston here as a test run and it worked fine. What I'm going to do next is make a current that goes all the way back this way. And this won't be quite as fast as using honey blocks and pistons. So I'm going to send a pulse using these all the way to the top. It has a piston here which will extend when the current comes up. Now I'm going to place this here and add iron in all the walls. And the same for the floor, and a bit of water with kelp. To set up this dropper, I'm going to to do something like this with a redstone dust on top. Let's completely fill this up. And you'd think the machine works perfectly, but still not quite. Because this stasis chamber is in this chunk. However, this portal is one chunk too far away for the entities to load. At the moment, it'll only load redstone, so what I need to do is create some sort of chunk loader right here. Kind of nice to link them. I'm just going to stick a dropper right here. This will connect like that. And in theory, sending an item through here should be enough to load the chunk. Now to test it out. And once I push this button, in about 12-15 seconds, I should teleport. I have. Okay, we've made it both ways. Time to test it out. So if I press this button, it will teleport me all the way to spawn. And then if I drop down this hole and push this button, it will take me back to my house. I'm also going to add a second pulse here so that the 2 currents go through, just to try and make it a little bit more consistent so it works every single time. And the final thing is to add a button right here, which will return me back home. And I think using lots of observers is the way that I want to do this again, which means gathering up some quartz to make a load more observers and also crafting more repeaters. So I'm going to do something like this all the way down to level 12. And that's going to connect to some redstone. I've hooked up all the redstone, so I think if I push this button... Yep, it's going to send 2 pulses through. And there we go, I've been teleported. But in theory now, this button should connect everything up and work well. Yep, I've made it back up. I cannot believe I actually built a working teleporter in Minecraft.